In this video, I'm going to share the 3 doctrines of spiritual capitalism. Now, I've described these doctrines in my book called Spiritual Capitalism, leaving a link for that below. But I just want to stress that this is the most important video I've made on this channel so far. So let's dive right in. So I do want to preface it just a little bit. Now, this is not just some theory or 3 things I came up with and then I hope that that's going to give you success. No, this is me reverse engineering my own success. This is me in retrospect realizing this is exactly what I did, and I did a lot of things wrong. But because I followed these 3 rules, if you will, it's not rules per se, but these 3 doctrines, things went well, regardless of all the things I went wrong. So without further ado, and this time I mean it, let's look at the first doctrine. The first doctrine is work for yourself now. Now, up until this point, you've been working for other people. But now, right now, and I really do mean right now, you will start working for yourself. And I don't mean quit your job. If you have plans to open a company, for instance, this is an example, right? That means you're thinking about it, and you have been thinking about it for a while. But that also means that you're not doing it. You're not running a company. You're not living the dream. You're not doing what it is that you're planning to do. Because planning to do something or thinking about something is just that. It's planning and thinking. And I'm not saying you should just open a company or, without any consideration about what type of company it is. But I am saying that you need to start executing, and you have to do it right now. You have to stop dreaming and start doing. It's not about having an idea. What I talk about is instead of you getting up every single day working for someone else, you get up every single day and your first priority, at the very least mentally, your first priority is to work for you. You work for yourself, and you start right now. Because if you don't start right now, your dream will never come true. And that's what I realized. I'm not even kidding you. I realized that if I don't do this right now, if I don't start every single day working for myself, none of my dreams are ever gonna come true. But that aside, this is not about finding motivation. This is about understanding that if you don't start working for yourself right now, you will never achieve those dreams and goals. Never. They will keep being dreams. They will keep being thoughts in your mind and nothing beyond that. If you don't take this decision to start working for yourself right now, it's never going to happen. And that's the realization I had. That's what led me to start. That was the start of my success financially. Now, there's a lot more I could say about that, but I want to keep this video relatively short, so I'm going to tell you what the second doctrine is. Make and follow the rules. What rules is, of course, the obvious question, right? You will make those rules. Now, obviously, you probably already have a job, you have a family, maybe you live with someone, maybe you have kids, right? You have all sorts of obligations, you have other people that you need to attend to. Yeah, many sorts of different obligations, things that you cannot not do. You have to do these things. And that is why you have to make rules for your own behavior. Now, it would be nice if they were habits. I did another video recently about habits of successful people. I think I've mentioned it a couple times on this channel actually. But you can't just implement a habit from one day to the next. And that is the reason why you need to start out by making some rules. And you have to follow these rules. And the motivation to follow those rules, you can find that in the fact that you already follow other people's rules every single day. When you go to work, you follow the rules of your workplace, the rules of your boss, right? Whoever your employer is, right? You follow his rules. When you're in a relationship, you follow certain rules. When you're in a restaurant, you follow certain social rules. There are so many rules everywhere, and you're happy to follow all of them. But for some reason, you don't make your own rules and follow them. And that's what you have to do. Because as I've said before, being a spiritual capitalist and being successful means doing the counterintuitive over and over and over again. And you cannot take that battle with yourself in every specific situation, because that would just be too much of a cognitive effort, right? It would just be too hard to do that every single day. It would be a waste of time and a waste of energy as well. So what you have to do is you have to make at least one simple rule, and the one simple rule, my first simple rule, the one I implemented first, was every day when I get up. I had a full-time job, mind you, at this time, actually more than full-time. I got up every day and I promised myself, I'm gonna work on my novel. I was writing a novel back then. I'm gonna work on my novel for 2 hours, at least 2 hours. If I feel like it, I can work on it more. But when I get up, the first 2 hours of my work day, I work for me on my novel. End of story. So here's the thing. You probably know the feeling that if you break a rule, if you break some promise you made to someone else, that makes you uncomfortable. That's certainly how I feel about it. But for some reason, most people don't really, well, first of all, they don't make themselves a lot of promises. They don't make a lot of rules for themselves. But if they do and they break them, it's just whatever. But in reality, you need to treat the promises you make yourself, the rules that you'll be implementing, you need to treat them as if they are gospel. If you break the rules that you make for your own behavior, you screw yourself over. And why would you screw yourself over, right? You're an idiot if you screw over your wife or your friends or even strangers that you don't even know, right? But we can all see that if you promise someone something and you don't deliver on that promise, you're a fucking idiot, right? We all agree on that. But for some reason, breaking our own rules, oh yeah, I started smoking again, but oh yeah, I'll quit next week, whatever. It could be a lot of different things, right? But you have to make these rules and you have to implement them in your life. And of course, the purpose of this is to be able to follow the first doctrine. And I should say this, these doctrines are not equally important. The first doctrine trumps the other doctrines. Actually, the second and the third doctrine really only serves the purpose of forcing you to follow the first doctrine, which is work for yourself now. But the second doctrine is, as I already said, make the rules and follow them. And you have to do it. You can't rely on your inner motivation to suddenly, oh yeah, I got home from work and I made dinner and put the kids to bed and then I was like inspired to work on my business for a couple of hours. That's not going to happen. And if it's going to happen, maybe it'll happen once or twice. Maybe it's going to happen 4 or 5 times a month or 4 or 5 times a year, right? But it's not going to get you anywhere. You need to work consistently towards your goals. Again, if you don't, they're never gonna happen. They're never gonna happen. So you have to make the rules. And I should also stress the fact that only implement one rule at a time. And I know how it sounds, and I know that if you're taking this in, what I'm saying in this video, and if you're thinking about implementing these rules and following the doctrines of spiritual capitalism, and taking this step and actually becoming a spiritual capitalist yourself, you're thinking, the minute you start, so maybe you're taking some notes right now, some notes for some potential rules you could be making. You'll probably, at least some of you watching this video, will probably be implementing more than one rule, but that's a mistake. Because it's hard to follow just one rule. What you can do is you can make a broader rule so you can kind of contain all the rules you wanted to implement into this one rule. But it's important that you only implement one, because that means you have better odds of sticking with it, and that means that you will not be disappointed with yourself, that you won't quit, basically. Now let's move on to the third doctrine. The third doctrine is control your unconscious mind. What do I mean by that? Some people, I went to a hypnotherapist a few years back. He told me that I believe he said 95% of all our thoughts and behaviors and actions are governed by the unconscious, by the subconscious, by all the stuff that is completely out of our control. I don't think that number is completely true, at least not in a scientific sense. It was really hard to prove anyways. But I do think the point is really, really valid and very, very important. Most of our actions, most of the thoughts we have, most of the things we tell other people, most of our actions throughout any random day are governed by the unconscious. What is the unconscious? Well, the unconscious is, per definition, just that. It is simply all the things that are out of our consciousness that we're not aware of. And that is a lot of stuff. Take my word for it. But so how do we do that? Well, you need to reprogram yourself for success, basically. What spiritual capitalists do is we take advantage of the fact that your brain can't really tell the difference between you thinking about something, about doing something, visualizing it, and you actually doing it. So if you keep imagining, basically just imagining that you're in these situations, and I'm not talking about, oh yeah, I imagine there's my fridge is filled with with bars of gold, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just seeing yourself being successful, seeing yourself at that meeting with the investors, seeing yourself, just seeing yourself doing the stuff that you want to do, but also the stuff that you have to do. So not just all the cherries on the cake, right? You also need to envision all the stuff that you have to go through to get there, wherever there is. Now, I want to elaborate a lot more on this, but I am basically talking about visualization techniques and potentially also affirmation practices. Some of you probably already use some of these, and that's a really good thing. What I've been doing for years, it's not something I didn't decide to do this. I just realized actually every single night before I fall asleep, I'm thinking about, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna say on Letterman, and that was just a fictional example, but it could be a real example, right? But I have these. I just imagine like what I'm gonna do in this situation, and when I have 100 million, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start out by doing this and doing that. And to some people, it sounds completely insane. I know that, but I think to most of you guys watching this, most of the people watching this video are probably in the process of becoming spiritual capitalists if you aren't already, and it will make sense to you. And again, that's all I have for you right now. I want to keep it short. I'm going to elaborate on the specific doctrines in another video. Please feel free to leave a comment. Maybe you're already using some of these practices. I'd love to hear how you go about it. Maybe you have a slightly different approach to it than I do. And let me know what you think. And stay tuned for more high quality content for aspiring billionaires here on Spiritual Capitalism. And please, by all means, if you haven't done so already, go check out my new book on Amazon. Link for that below. Thanks for watching Spiritual Capitalism. I'll see you soon.